guys! So today I'm going to be doing a book related video for you, and this time is going to be a tag. So this is the rapid fire book tag. I found this through, I believe her name is Emma Mirmadryad on YouTube. I will link her video down below if you would like to go and watch her video. But yeah, so there are just 24 questions, which is kind of a lot, so I will try to get through them in a timely manner. But yeah, it's just a book tag. So that's what I'm doing today. I hope that you enjoy this. These questions are not numbered, so I'm just gonna say them. They're not gonna be like anything like that, but all the questions will be down below if you want to do this tag, so check down there. First question, ebook or physical book? I understand the appeal of ebooks. I really do. I get that it's cool to carry around like 1,000 books with you in this one little thing that's less weighty than probably even the first Harry Potter book, but I just really love the feel of a physical book. I love the turning of the pages. I love how they smell. I love just having the thing with you. Also, I've never managed to read a whole ebook. I've read like novellas as ebooks, like the little standalone stories that go with books like The Chosen or whatever they're called, but I've never actually gotten through like a whole ebook. I'll start them, but I just never feel motivated to pick my tablet back up and like go through a book. Paperback or hardback? This one is kind of tough for me, which might be ridiculous. A good hardcover book looks great. It's way more sturdy and like long lasting than a paperback. Kind of like hardbacks for like books that I'm really fond of and that I want to have on my shelf for a long time. But I also really enjoy reading paperbacks. Like I find they're a lot easier because you can like bend them around. I'm not the type of person who like really tries to preserve the spines or anything. I love even the look of like a broken spine, like how it gets that like crinkle down the center. It just like, it looks loved and like, yeah, it's just more comfortable reading a paperback book, but I do really like the look of a hardback book. It just looks a lot fancier. Question 3, online or in-store book shopping? I like buying books in-store, but it is a lot more efficient and easier to buy books online because you can just like type in the book you want or even the exact ISBN of the edition you want and get your book and get it to come to you. Whereas if you buy them in a store, you have to hunt them down. They might not be in the right place. Sometimes you'll get the person to go and find you the book and be like, they'll do the exact same thing that you just did, but you don't want to embarrass them, so you don't stop them. And then they're like, yeah, we probably don't have that book. And then you're like, okay. And then you still don't have the book. Whereas you know right away if like a website doesn't have a book. I would probably prefer ordering online, but I do like the immediate satisfaction of buying in a store. Trilogies or series? I do love a good series, but there's something really great about a trilogy because it gives the author enough room to expand their world, and like you get a deeper story, you get a longer story, you get a more involved story, but you don't have a book that suddenly becomes like 20, 30 books and you're still not done the story. And maybe you'll never get an end to that story. So I guess I would go with trilogies, heroes or villains. And I love books that don't have heroes and villains. I love books that have protagonists and antagonists, like somebody we're clearly rooting for and somebody who's we're not supposed to be rooting for. But I love when all of the characters are a little bit gray. I want, yeah, you're a bad dude, but you're also not a bad dude. I'm not rooting for you, right? Or this is the main character, he's a good guy, except when he does this. Like, I like having a gray character, so generally I don't go for heroes and villains unless I'm watching a superhero book or watching a superhero movie. A book you want everyone to read, aside from the obvious, which are Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, a book that I think everyone should read would be, I'm gonna pick 3. Okay, 3. I'm gonna say The Great Gatsby because the writing is fantastic, it's very short, it's a classic, and it's just a great book that makes you think if you're reading it correctly. The second one I would say is The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, because it is beautiful and sad and technically a YA novel, but I think there's deeper themes in it that a lot of people could take something from. And the third book that I will say is 1984, just because dystopians are great and they kind of make you think about the world that you live in, and it's always a little bit terrifying when you see things in our world that exists in a dystopian novel. And 1984 is one of the great ones, one of my favorite ones. The last book you finished. The last book that I finished was the movie guide for Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. If you want to know the last novel I finished, then that would be Breaking Dawn, which is the last book in the Twilight series. Oh, I'm messing up my order. Recommend an underrated book. A book that I don't think anybody really ever talks about that I actually really enjoyed and have reread on multiple occasions. I mean, it's not a deep book or anything, it's not like an amazing work of literature, but I really enjoy The Realm of Possibility by David Levithan. It's one of my favorite books, and it's definitely one that I've reread a couple of times. It's a very short book. I think it's entirely written in poetry, so it's a very quick read, but it is just great. The last book I bought, I'm honestly not sure what the last book I bought was. Probably The Cursed Child would be the last one that I bought myself and that I wasn't gifted. Yeah, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Weirdest thing you've used as a bookmark. I've used some pretty weird things as bookmarks. I've used candy wrappers, I have used old receipts, I have used hair ties, paper clips, a headband, pretty much anything can be a bookmark. Used books, yes or no? Absolutely, I loved used books. Used bookstores smell amazing. I love used bookstores, and I love used books. They're just fun. Top 3 favorite genres. I feel like some of my genres encompass other genres, but my top 3 would be fantasy, specifically high fantasy, but also like vampire novels. I assume that's part of fantasy. YA, just general YA, I guess, like teen romancy books and shit like that. I really love them. And then third, I would probably go for dystopian. You could overarching say science fiction, but I prefer dystopians. I don't really love science fiction as a general genre, but I really love dystopian fiction, whether that's YA or adult. Borrow or buy. I really make use of libraries a lot. There's a lot of times when there's a book I want to read that I'm not sure that I'll love, and I don't really like buying books that I might not read or that I might not like. So a lot of the time, unless I'm absolutely sure that I'll love a book or that I already love a book, I won't buy a book. So generally I will borrow a book unless I'm sure about it. Like anything Harry Potter I will buy, anything Tolkien I'm likely to want to buy, or like anything by an author that I've already read and loved. But other than that, I'm probably gonna want to get it out of the library first. Characters or plot. I am usually there for an interesting plot. I love when a book can be character driven as well. Like, that's really cool. I really love some strong characters and some strong character interactions. But for the most part, a good plot can get me through. Like, I can hate every character in your book, but as long as the story is interesting and or the writing is beautiful, I can still really like the book. Long or short books, and if you've ever watched or looked at one of my book chat posts, I love my long books. I love anything over 500 pages is probably going to be amazing. I like long books because it gives the author time to go in depth. I love seeing time pass. I love character building and world building and interactions, and there's just such a deeper story, especially because a lot of the books that I read are fantasy. You need the space to describe the world that you're in so that you understand what's happening, so you understand the characters and why they do what they do. So I love long books. Long or short chapters. I like when authors utilize like varying chapters, and also when there are long chapters, if they are broken up with like chapter breaks, because it is nice to have a place to logically stop if you do get into the middle of like a 40-50 page chapter and you just need a break or something, you have to stop for whatever reason. It's nice to have those page breaks. So that is the nice thing about short chapters, but I like when they're sort of varying lengths throughout the book whenever needed, like either for pacing or for different characters. Name the first 3 books you think of. I'm going to go with The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. There you go, first 3 books. Books that make you laugh or cry. I assume you're asking whether I prefer laughing or crying, and I love books that can make me do both. One of the reasons that I had such a strong connection and love of The Fault in Our Stars is that there were points in that book where John Green would make you go from bawling to laughing through your tears, and it's just like this emotional roller coaster, and it hurts, and it's beautiful, and it's funny, and John Green is just phenomenal. But yeah, I definitely love a book that can play with my emotions and not just make me laugh or cry. But if I had to pick one, I would pick a book that can make me cry, because that just feels more powerful and impressive than making me laugh. Our world or fictional worlds, I like at least some degree of a fictional world. I love fantasy books. I love books like The Lord of the Rings that are set completely in a different world, being Middle Earth. But I also like books like Harry Potter, which sort of has a separate fictional world wedged inside of our world. So I really like when there's at least a hint of a fictional world within our world. Audiobooks, yes or no? I am not an audiobook fan. I don't listen really well. I'm not an auditory learner at all. If I was going to read an audiobook, I would have to be reading my book along with it, which I have tried, but I'm also really kind of bad at that too, because the person reading the audiobook never reads at the pace that I want to read at. So I really just prefer to take the time and sit down and read a book. And if I don't have the time, then it's like music time, maybe YouTube time, but I'm not going to listen to an audiobook. Do you ever judge a book by its cover? Absolutely. It's not always the best way to do it, but there are so many books in the world that you can absolutely judge a book by its cover and only read books with covers that you like and still read a ton of good books. You will miss out on good books, but you're gonna do that whether you judge a book on its cover or not. Book to movie or book to TV adaptations. I have seen both done well and done poorly. I think that a lot of books lend themselves better to movies because they aren't necessarily long and drawn out. However, anything that is a series or anything that has a really interesting in-depth world works better as a series, because then you can see more stories, you can have more time to sort of go through the world. Whereas a book that's more maybe plot-driven or more set in our world is going to be better done as a movie than as a TV show, just because you don't need the time a TV show gives you to really understand and get a feel for the world. So I can't answer this question properly because it depends on the work that we're talking about. Movie or TV show you preferred to the book? So where the book was not better? Oh God, that's so hard. Is there one? I know that the author of Fight Club actually prefers the movie to his book, but I haven't read the book, so I can't tell you if I prefer it. Oh, I have one. Okay. Gossip Girl was a book series before it was a TV show, but the TV show, while it was fantastic, I love Gossip Girl. I have read a couple of the books and they're just not as good. They're very formulaic and very teeny bopper and very meh, but the show it took that base story and just made it this dramatic, spectacular story that was just so much better. So that is what I'm gonna go with. And finally, series or standalones. I'm not sure why we didn't mention this up at the top where we talked about series versus trilogies, but usually I would go with a series over a standalone book. I just really like finding a story and an author that I really love and then knowing that there's more of it. Whereas with a standalone book, it might be the only book that that author will ever write, and if you fall in love with the characters and the writing style and the author's like ways of thinking, and then they never write anything else, then that's just tough luck for you, man. But there are definitely stories that only need a standalone book. And so I, again, am not going to answer this, just like I've only kind of answered most of the questions in this tag. So at this point, I think I've taken like 26 minutes to answer all of these questions, so hopefully I will be able to edit it down into a reasonably length video for you. But that is the entire rapid fire book tag. I was probably supposed to answer this more quickly, which is probably why it was called the rapid fire book tag, but I am not that type of question answerer. If you enjoy books and enjoy my random book-related content like reviews and book tags and shit like that, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. I really enjoy creating them and talking about books and writing about books. So I'm hoping that at least some of you also like consuming that type of content. So let me know by giving me a thumbs up. Also, let me know some of your favorite books down in the comments down below, because let's talk about books. And don't forget to subscribe to see more videos from me, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys!